Let's break the mold and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Stanley on 7. We're here until it's here.
Welcome back. This is Stanley on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast, a Pull Tab Sports production. I am Ryan Carter here with John King. We're following up a tough home-and-home series with the Calgary Flames, to which the Wild got outplayed, outbattled, and, well, outscored quite a bit. The Flames had their way the first game in Calgary. They won 7-3. They come back to Xcel Energy Center. Quite frankly, I thought that the Wild would be better and that the game would be slightly more competitive than it was. I think the Wild tried, but at the end of the night, it was still a 5-1 beating by way of the Calgary Flames. You were at the game, Kinger. Can we just take a second and talk about your experience at the game? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Is everything okay? Do we have to call Rat? We might need to main vein line some of Rat's juice right now.
Rat's been hiding a little bit. He's working, and so he's unavailable when we record these podcasts. And to be fair to him, I usually ask him at 8:46 if he can be on at 9 a.m. Same day. My wife can relate to that. But in-game experience, okay, Xcel Energy Center.
This is for the Flames game.
Yep, last night. Yep. Always buy a program when you come in.
Especially when White Bear kids are.
It was Mata Midai.
Oh, that's cool. Northeast.
And a lot of the jokes, you got to lose to White Bear. And the kid was like young enough where it was weird, where I'm like, do you promise you'll lose to White Bear? And he's like, I'll try. But I gave him a $5 tip. That's like, talk about feeling just awesome. Just keep the $5, And then all the other Mata Midai people, when they see you've already got the program, it's like, you're in the club. They don't. That whole program selling thing is the best. I never even look at. I never even open it. I might as well just throw it in the garbage. Yeah, that's the collection plate.
So
Minnesota hockey.
I got to ask you. You give him a $5 tip.
That's right.
Does that go into the collection thing, or does he say this is a good job selling right into his back pocket?
Well, it's Mata Midai, so it probably went into the collection plate. I don't think he.
If it was a White Bear kid, it's in the pocket. Is that what you're saying?
That would be a compliment to White Bear, yes. No, I love that. I also I know you're up in the booth all the time, but one of the great traditions of hockey is the in between period lap. So go up, go one direction around. And then between the second and third, do a lap as well.
The other way?
I usually like to switch the direction. And it's just seeing all the people going through this mini donut line, man. I'm telling you, we need to find a way to rob this thing. I know there's no cash at the Xcel anymore, but they have to be doing like $10 million a night in mini donuts.
It's like Sweet Martha cookies at the fair, just line.
They've literally modeled it after Sweet Martha. They come in a bucket. There's 100 people in line, and it costs like $1 million for an order. Like if we could just do like a short form Bitcoin kind of like somehow, like, how like the military guys can disrupt the tech in a short area. Mm-hmm. If we could somehow get even one period when all those transactions are coming to Stanley on 7th, we'll never have to pay green screen studio again. We'll be on a yacht, Saint-Tropez.
You think it'd be as easy as like unplugging their, maybe their teller machine and plugging it right into like our Square or iPhone or something, just redirecting all funds there? Could it be that easy?
It's disgusting how much money they're making.
Well, I know that they must do a lot of donuts, because in the bowels of the Xcel Energy Center, there's just tons of mini donut oil, like frying oil, like flour. It's everywhere.
When they publish like the Twin Cities' biggest companies, it's going to be like Target number 1, number 2, the Xcel Center new mini donut thing. It's uncanny.
Do you think they could be like Sweet Martha's and open up a second one and still have a bunch of people standing in line?
Yes. Dude, I'm not kidding. I think they make like hundreds of thousands of dollars at every game. I don't know how to find this out. I guess you could probably find out.
I don't know how I would find it out.
It's nuts.
Okay, so
I've eaten them too.
You take a lap both ways because you don't want to turn into Derek Zoolander. You want to be an ambi-turner.
Well, I think you see different people if you go both ways.
You know what else is? So when you go for your men's league skate, do you always take your warm up lap the same direction? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You always turn right when you go into the hip.
And then is that always like your best crossover?
I don't even know if I can cross
The warm up
over.
lap dictates which way you're better at skating. So if you don't switch the warm up lap, you're only good at crossing over one
But
way.
you'd be running into people everywhere.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying it's nice that you go both ways because you're just a balanced walker.
Yeah. I like to go different ways.
Okay, so carry on.
The last night was really difficult. I'm super worried. In some ways, the Flames are everything that I want to be.
Yeah.
So let's just go through this guy, Gabranson, 44.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could take an axe to him for 25 games in the playoffs, be hitting him with a real axe, and this dude's still there at the end. He's unbelievable. This is their defenseman. Noah Hannafin didn't play last night, I don't think. 6'3".
Yeah, I did.
Well, he wasn't very noticeable. Anderson, 6'1". Sorry, he went to BC. Kylington, 6 foot. Tanev, one of the Tanev brothers, maybe twins, 6'2". Zadorov, 6'5". Gabranson, 6'4". Let's throw a 6'6" goalie in net who plays the puck constantly. This team is freaking they're terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. They got the crazy coach that's into manalytics, not analytics. Yeah, they got gigantic back end, a great goalie. They made a trade a month before the deadline to add to Foley, who's a stud. They got a pest. They got a rat with Kachuk. They got Johnny Gaudreau. This guy, Monahan, you could throw him in the garbage. He's about the only guy I don't like on their team, but they're a rugged, truculent hockey team that can score. This is the prototype, man. This is
for playoff hockey.
Playoff hockey. That's what you were watching. The reason I went to the game last night is this is a response game. You just got the crap beat out of you in Calgary. You're coming home, stiffen your back and show them that was a mirage. And we got beat 5-1. Man, they scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, there's no question. Calgary, boy, I think they opened my eyes a little bit, and they've taken a step. What's crazy is, like you mentioned too, it's not that much different of a team that has been bad the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like they had Markstrom last year. They had a lot of these pieces. And it's not like they get to Foley and he changed it all. Like they were good before that too.
Love the trade early though. I love it.
Yeah, but all it is Sutter going out and getting guys that he knows. So Sutter has his fourth line. Did you like their fourth line? And they're a hard playing pesky.
Which guys were
line.
their fourth line?
Richardson, Lewis, and Richie.
Yeah. Richie there were moments in that game. You could tell, I thought Eck was really running around, which I liked. I felt like Moose found himself last night. Like, I didn't look at the stats. Maybe he was a big minus or whatever. I didn't, but I could kind of see him starting to find himself. But it was troubling. First period was rough again, just like the other night, where you kind of got done with 20 and you're like, geez, I don't know. I don't know. And the hitting and, man, I'm super concerned. We're going to have to go 10 toes up at some point today.
Yeah, a little role play later. But no, last night was concerning for me too, but it also opened up a vein because that's Sutter on that bench. And 2012, I was with the Devils playing the Stanley Cup Finals against the Kings and Sutter. And I think about the team we played against. And I watched how Calgary did it last night. And they basically played the exact same way and did the exact same things that beat us in 6 games. And the LA Kings going to win the Stanley Cup, and I'm sitting there in June with tears in my eyes. Right? It was awful.
But what is that recipe that the Kings used
for them? So he's building almost the exact same thing.
What are the key ingredients?
So he has so the fourth line, the guys that he can trust. Let's just start there.
That's an identity line. Like this is basically
guys he can trust, guys that play hard, and guys that can play playoff hockey. Like I don't care, guys. I don't want to have to give you attention. Just go play hard. They did that. That's Trevor Lewis, Brad Richardson. He's the young guy on that line.
Yep.
But both those guys have won cups with Sutter, and they were on that team in 2012. Then you go up to the third line. Again, the Kings that at that time, they had DJ King, the big, heavy guy that was tough, right?
Is this where Lucic is? Yeah.
Yes. And they had Brad Richards. That's the third line center. Monahan, a guy that can score but can also play both ways. You didn't like Monahan's game, but
he's just not good.
But he is good. In the as a third line center, he was the Flames' first and second line center for a long time.
That's right. He's been put in a position where he's a good player on the third line.
And Gaudreau's having a breakout year. He's played with Monahan for the last couple of years, and they've tried to have a balance attack. So Lindholm and Tkachuk, and then it's
Lindholm
Gaudreau.
Is awesome.
Yeah, that's Kopitar for them.
Totally
Two-way
forgotten,
center.
not talked about. The guy is so good.
Two-way center.
And this guy Coleman,
Blake Coleman.
Oh man.
Well, he was a Tampa.
I know. Anybody from Tampa just has the horseshoe up their ass and just a killer role player. Kind of a dick, you know. This is so horrible to say. I just love Calgary so much.
Right now,
from a blueprint standpoint.
Right
not from we're breaking the mold. We're going to work through this today. But I feel like I just saw the boogeyman.
Yeah. So then he's got Toffoli on that third line too, who's a power play guy who won a cup with him.
Third line.
Yeah, and he won a cup.
So Monahan, Toffoli, and Lucic, third line. Awesome.
Yeah. Mangiapane, 28 goals. Some of this has got to be an aberration. 28 goals, 9 assists. I don't even know how that's possible. You get 2 assists per goal, 1 goal, obviously.
Cy Young.
He's 28. Like, that's ridiculous.
Is he with Gaudreau or Tkachuk?
He's with Backlund.
Okay. So the second line is who?
It's Backlund, Mangiapane, and I think when healthy it'd be Dubé or one of those guys. But
so then they load up the top line with Tkachuk, Gaudreau, and Lindholm.
Yes.
Wow.
Which the coaches in the past wouldn't do. They tried to balance it.
Yeah.
So you have your top line that's dominant. You've got your two-way center, Kopitar, which is Lindholm. You've got your second scoring line. It was Jeff Carter at that time. That's the Backlund line. Third. And then you go to the back end. Let's go to the back end. That Kings team that won the cup in 12 and 14, they had huge dudes back there. I'm talking Matt Green, he's gonna cross. I think he still used a wood coho. He was gonna cross check your teeth out, and you knew it.
Yeah,
right. That's good Branson.
I couldn't stare at Branson enough. I'm just like, I told my wife, I said, we need a guy like this. You can't chop him down. You cannot chop him down. I don't care what you throw at him. He's too big. He's too strong. He's going to be standing when you're trying to chase 16 W's in the playoffs.
Yeah, size matters back there. It does. But there were a couple times, and now we should get into some role playing, where Goodbranson got exposed. Boldy beat him a couple times on some quick turns. When you get a guy that's big and aggressive like that, little truculent, if you can get him having to skate and move his feet, you can beat him. And he's not the fleetest of foot, and that's the issue with Calgary, is everybody out east wants to be high-flying, fast, let's go. And the Wild have that, and they can play that. I'd love to see a matchup right now between Colorado and Calgary, because can Calgary keep up with Colorado? And then what does that look like in a 7-game series? That's the great question. Now, I think this is a perfect segue into 10 Toes Up. So, listeners, This is what we need, and we're trying to break the mold here. So Kinger's going to go on the couch. We've got a leather couch here at Green Screen Studios.
That's right.
And Kinger's just going to go lay down on this hypothetical couch. He's going to throw his feet up, probably cross them a little bit. I'm going to be sitting behind you, and you're just going to fire questions as you look at the wall and just relax. I don't know. Are you going to put a chew in or?
Yeah. So for fans, this episode, we're gonna work through it. We're gonna walk through the shadow of death, the valley of death. Is that what it's called? So if you need some help, some liquid courage getting through that, swing by our friends at Big Wood. Big Wood Brewery, White Bear Lake. They got an awesome tap room. Bad Axe is on tap, which is exactly what we're going to need for the playoffs. Come on in. It's like a cabin in the metro. You can find Big Wood at liquor stores in Minnesota as well. Local, White Bear, just like Ryan and I, Big Wood Brewery. They're sponsoring 10 Toes Up right here because even though I don't have a fresh dip in my lip, I know that if I had a nice, tall Bad Axe, it would help me get through this next sequence. Now, I am a Wild fan. I'm trying to break the mold. I believe in Billy G. I wish Kirill, I could billet him and, grab his cheeks and all this stuff. So I wanted to say that at the beginning. I'm doing this for us, Wild fans. Ryan, you need to, I'm going to come at you with all the stuff the people are going to say.
Okay.
All the voices. Okay. For starters, let's just start with this. So I'm on the couch. Do I need to lay down? I don't think the mic would go that far. Okay. We have undersized defensemen. There is not a chance in hell we can survive deep into the playoffs with the little defensemen we have. We need big guys. We need big bodies in the playoffs. It's red line, toss the puck, and bounce a guy off the glass as hard as you can. Hopefully he makes it to the dots. Merrill is one of our bigger guys. Mm-hmm. He was getting bounced off the wall last night like he was at one of those trampoline places you take your daughter. This back end is way too small to go through the gauntlet of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I think that you're actually probably onto something there. I do think that bigger bodies do have success in the playoffs. I think that there are ways to combat that, and there are system tweaks that I think the Wild can make. You know, let's say you stand up at the Blues and you make teams have to dump the puck, because you've got to find a way, and the Wild are going to have to find a way to be able to use their mobility and their skating to their advantage on the back end. And there may be some opportunity cost there where they can't jump up in the play. They're not as aggressive getting up in the play, but you can pinch guys off. And Calgary did this last night, actually, which was amazing. How many pucks did you see Markstrom break out?
Unbelievable.
So
he was like the goalie in soccer that's the extra player. He made such a difference for them playing the puck.
We broke up
you couldn't forecheck because by the time the puck got down there, he had already made a play with it. He almost made. I was waiting for the one mistake where he gives up a goal. He almost did that, but huge difference.
Yeah, it was a huge difference. But again, that's the system, and that's what Calgary's trying to do. Sutter's trying to do is we're going to pinch off at the blue. We're going to force you to dump the puck, and if you don't make a perfect dump, it's going to go to our goaltender, and he's going to break us out. And that's exactly what happened. So the Wild, who are so good at sustaining pressure, they weren't able to at all last night. Now the Wild have that. You don't have to have big, truculent D-men to implement that system. You just have to have good sticks and good angles. And actually, I think you'd probably be better off with a skating style there where you pinch at the blue, you force them to dump, but you have to have the goaltender that can make the plays.
So you're saying, because if I'm just playing this out, Dumba's hurt now. Mm-hmm. Brodin was hurt by Game 6 against Vegas. Johnny Merrill's one of our bigger D. He was getting bounced off the glass last night. Even Tyler Toffoli. Tyler Toffoli dumps the puck in and decides he's going to try to lean into Spurgeon. I don't know how we weather the storm round after round in the playoffs. You're saying if Talbot starts playing the puck more, that'll help us a lot?
No, it's not Talbot has to play the puck more. It's that there are system tweaks that you can make in a 7-game series that you likely aren't going to make in a one-off game that can help you win.
What would you do? What would be a system tweak?
To help prevent from getting run over by these guys all the time?
Yeah, because, I mean...
That's exactly it. Stand up. Be aggressive. Make sure that you pressure.
Don't let them dump. Don't let them dump.
You want to force them to dump. You want to force them to dump it, but you want to force them to dump it uncomfortably so that all of a sudden it gets to the trapezoid. Because it's easy if they got space and you're taking away the middle, like you ride the dot lane, and then they just make a soft chip off the side, and then it's a forecheck 50-50. Now they're going. If you can stay outside the blue, now you have to have good back pressure, because if your D gets beat, then it'll be a 2-on-1 at the net. This is, hopefully people are tracking this. But you can pinch at that blue line and make it harder and force teams to dump. And you can. But this is one area where I think you're actually right. But what I will say too is,
well, this is not helping.
No, this is where I'll combat this and say
you're throwing dirt on me now.
The way the playoffs are set up right now, and this is a trap that I think Wild fans should not fall into.
Come on, let's hear it.
Trying to build the team to solely beat Calgary.
Yeah, this is our worst matchup, I think.
It's a tough matchup, right?
It's a horrible matchup for us.
All of a sudden, you get caught looking at an opponent that you maybe aren't going to have to face. If the playoffs started today, the Wild aren't playing Calgary until the West final. So you got to win 2 rounds before you get there. They're going to have to go through Colorado, St. Louis, and these other teams before they get to Calgary. And can they play against both those clubs? Absolutely. With the decor they have? Yes. And sometimes you have to roll the dice. Now, would it be nice to pick up another big D-man to have in the event that you are going to face Calgary at some point? Yes. But should you sell the farm and change your complete identity because of that? I don't think so right now. So I think you almost have to focus and talked about this a little bit. If you go out and just try to get big and strong like Calgary and you're chasing the Calgary model, there's an opportunity cost there, and it's speed and skill. Most likely. Like there's not a lot of Tom Wilsons out there that are going to beat the wheels off everybody, forecheck, intimidate, and then go score 30 goals. They just don't come around very often. Mm-hmm. So who are you going to get?
We call him Willie.
Yeah, who are you going to get? So my point is, like, I think a lot of Wild fans, like, yeah, and the losses were tough and it didn't look great, right? But also when the Wild didn't have their mojo. I think that's probably the most alarming thing to me or standout thing is that they didn't have it. Like you went to games early on in the year and the Wild had it. Like there was a response. A team scores, they respond. And then all of a sudden the Wild score 3 quick ones. They didn't have it. So they're playing a team that is rolling right now. 12-1 or 12-1 their last 13 games, playing the best hockey they've played against a team that's playing their worst hockey that they've played. So at the same time, it's like, okay, well, you got to put it into perspective now. We don't want to panic and go out and say, okay, we got to go get Goodbranson. We got to go out and get Lucic. We got to go out and get Ritchie. We got to go out and get all of these guys because it will cost you in the end. All of a sudden, you go try to play Colorado, the team that you're going to play maybe in the first round or second round of these playoffs.
I'd love to play Colorado.
Yeah, because you think you match up better with them.
Totally.
So I don't think that it's not as bad as it seems. Then on top of it, the D, what we've learned exactly is that the pairs and the chemistry between them, they're pretty solid when they're with their normal guys. And it's pretty.
How different is the team with Greenway and Dumba in the lineup?
Bill Guerin has a great quote with that. You need character and you need characters.
I love that. I love that phrase.
Yeah. And I think the issue with these guys, and I saw it last night, the it factor, the energy.
Yep.
They didn't have the characters. So Matt Dumba, and you can look at the expansion drafts and why he was kept through 2 of them. And people are still already saying like, hey, it's going to be hard for the Wild to keep Matt Dumba. Why'd they keep him instead of a bigger truculent guy, Carson Soucy? Ian Cole, right? Why? Because he helps provide that it factor. He's the character.
He lights
energy.
He lights the wick.
Yes.
Okay.
And he keeps it going. And then on top of it, he and Brodin have that bond, that mesh. They're good. And then that just balances everything else back there, right? It really does so far. I think we're seeing without Matt Dumba, that decor is kind of they've been on the fritz.
And Greenway certainly helps you against a team like Calgary.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go out and fight everybody out there, but he's going to win a physical battle.
He's going to hit some people.
Yeah, and at times during the game, veteran players know when to go out and have a statement physical shift, like get a guy on my back. I don't need to score a goal here, but I need to get the crowd into this, and I'm going to do it by physically beating these guys. But could Branson lose his battles to Greenway? No question about it.
Okay.
Next question.
I'm going to keep coming at you with the stuff I think people... I love the Wild. Anyone listening, I love the Wild. I want them to win the Stanley Cup, but I have to do this. Okay. Do we have a good goalie? And I say that because I watched this Markstrom last night. He's 6'6". All he does is make me think it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. We can score, but nothing is coming easy. He plays the puck. He's uber confident. And I think with our goaltenders, I kind of think, I don't know, when we're playing good, we win. When we're not playing good, we lose. I never feel like the goaltending steals a game for us. I never feel like they, I would say our goaltending is fine. Talking with the wife on the way out of the game, it's not the first area I would address, with this team, because you got a couple of them. They seem good. But are they great? I look at this new breed goaltender, the Michigan college goalie, these huge 6'6", 6'4", perfect positioning, just a bitch to get a goal. Absolute scoring on Markstrom. Terrible. You ask Kirill if he has to play this guy 10 times in a row, he'd be like, no way, this is awful. I'm just curious, do we have the goaltending we need?
Let me start by going this direction. Markstrom, can you follow his career path?
Well, he was good in Vancouver in the bubble when they totally overachieved. That's all I really remember. They sent him away because they believed in Demko more than him, and right. Demko's a stud. So in theory, I guess he's probably a straw dog that would fall down.
And he was in Florida, right? And that happens with a lot of goaltenders. Is it takes them, it seems, Dubnyk was the same way, 3-4 teams, and through experience and opportunity, finally they get their chance and they catch on. Markstrom wasn't great last year, and he wasn't. But now all of a sudden Sutter gets his system in place and they're playing a structured game, and now all of a sudden the goaltender's awesome. I think it's similar to Martin Brodeur. Like, Brodeur was one of the greatest goaltenders of all time, but he was able and benefited from playing
a system.
Yeah, behind a system and behind guys like Scott Stevens, Kenny Danico, Scott Niedermayer, Paul Martin. And because of that, yeah, his numbers were fantastic and he won a bunch of games. Now, don't get me wrong. He was really good and a star at the position, and he had a mentality that I would have loved to have had, right? But when it comes to Markstrom, he's good, but he's not that great. My point is, I think Talbot is very similar.
So really quick, just because I want to have you weave this into your answer. I heard this on the radio on the way home. There was a 5-game stretch where Talbot was 4-1 and only gave up 5 goals total. And then the last 5 games, he's maybe given up 17 goals. So to me, it's like, I guess your point is the team played well in front of him for 5 games, and then our whole structure, we were lost for the second group of 5 games. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, kind of. And I do think things have changed and the it factor wasn't there. But Talbot, he certainly needs to make more saves. He does need to be better. But my point is that I think he has been better before. And he's had seasons and stretches where he's really good. And we've seen that this season even. He needs to find a level of consistency that he had at points last year, and a confidence that he had. He doesn't have it. I don't think you need to go out, and I think this is what the coaching staff is trying to massage out of him, is like, it's still your job. Relax. You just go out and play. What do we have to do? Do you need more rest? And figuring out how to get him back to it. But I think he's the guy, and he's capable, and his numbers when he's on are great. He's just not on right now. So how do you get him on? Some of that might be the system. But I think more my point with that was, don't glorify Markstrom. Like, everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side. Like, Markstrom's good. Yeah, he's good. But so is Cam Talbot, and he's in your net. It's just a matter of finding it. And we're comparing a team that's on an absolute heater, the best hockey that they've played, to a team that's playing the worst hockey that they've played.
Okay. So I'm not that passionate about that one. I think our goalies are probably fine.
Yeah, and it's Talbot. It's Talbot's net.
Talbot's net. Okay, so here's one that's a little more troubling. I watched the game last night. This is a big game. As I understand it, they skated the hell out of the guys the other day. This is a response game. When I watched last night, I was struggling to figure out who the leader of the Wild was. Okay. The overall leader. And what I mean is, so Hartman got in the fight when we were down 2-0. By the way, we're the worst fighting team in the NHL. By the way, we just like we can't. If you put a reel together of all of our fights this year, it's like we're horrible at fighting, which sucks. By the way, because every time we fight, we get beat up, which is not good. And I love Hartman. I love that he did that too. So he's like palate cleanser, right? We're down 2-0. Let's do something, And yeah. I was feeling the exact same thing. Like, somebody do something. I mean, Jesus, Moose, fight Lucic and just roll the dice. I don't know what's going to happen, but this sucks. So, but then I'm watching the rest of the game. Kirill lately looks like he's on an island. He's very visible. But like I've said before, I don't like it when it looks like he's working and it looks like he's trying to find things to do. Boldy got punched in the nose early. I don't know if you saw that, right in the nose. And he was just, he played well, but he was just kind of like processing the NHL. I could see it right in front of my eyes. Like, oh yeah, he was checking his nose for blood. And I mean, you know what that feels like, right? And, but I didn't know like who's the guy that's, kind of chirping at their bench, or, I just was kind of like, I don't like who's in charge of us, like who's running this deal. And I guess we've never had that all year because it's just teammates and all that. But is that a worry?
I actually think it's a positive thing how things shook out last night. And I'm not trying to be a homer here. And you said you didn't like seeing Kirill work. But as that game played out and went on, who looked like they were taking it on their shoulders saying, I'm going to bring us back into this?
He's been like that.
It was him.
I like his game lately. I mean, he plays hard. He gets the crap beat out of him every night. And he's looking. Actually, I think there's times too where he is putting the puck on people's tape and they're not converting. You know, whatever it is. Spurgeon kind of missed that one coming in. But like, yeah, he's been an animal.
Third period, last game, every shift, and I think he was going every other. It was him possessing the puck, taking cross checks, trying to make plays, actually executing some of the plays. I think that's part of the struggle that the Wild had, is they just couldn't put a string of passes together. But he was battling, he was working, and he looked like a switch flipped. Like, hey, I'm going. Let's go, guys. And they fell short. But I think if you rewind to the playoffs last year, where it was a battle against Vegas and he wasn't as noticeable and he was trying to figure out, how do I make a difference? He didn't quite know how to flip that switch and turn it on. I think we're starting to see him understand what he's got to do and how he can throw a team.
So
on
this
his
is
back, so to speak.
This is becoming 97's team.
I think so. And he's not going to go rah, rah, rah.
No. Yeah.
But without him speaking, he kind of last night said, I'll pull us out of this.
Yeah, or I'm gonna, you're gonna have to kill me if you're gonna beat me.
Yeah, like not like one of those guys that says, "Follow me, I'm leading us into this." He just did it. He just played and was like, "I'm not quitting. We're playing till the end. I'm battling." And he battles Goodbranson right down to it. Goodbranson takes him down, a hit from behind, no call. Again, kind of egregious. We could get into the refereeing. That's another thing that kind of drove me bananas. How does Eriksson Ek get the lone penalty on a 5-minute melee in front of the net? He gets, Wes McCauley goes, "You're going to get," anyways. And then Kirill goes, but I love that Kirill goes back after Goodbranson.
Yeah, he's not scared.
No, he's not scared at all.
He can handle himself.
Yeah. So it's just, I actually think that is
him fighting, by the way, is a card that's going to be played at some point, and he's not going to lose. And it's going to be awesome.
Is he going to be like Ovechkin? Remember,
he's gonna fight at some point, and he's going to smoke a guy. And the crowd is the faces are going to melt.
I'm not trying to be a homer in that sense, but last night was the first time for me where it was like, okay, playoffs against Vegas last year, Kirill he still had some stuff to learn, and I think he took a step. And it not necessarily was the step that was taken last night, but he's starting to figure it out that this is entirely his club. And it wasn't Zuki, right? It wasn't Zuki leading it. It was Kirill. Zuccarello had some plays that he made, but it was a support piece for Kirill. It wasn't the other way around. And I thought Kirill, despite the fact that Wild got beat, had a great game in that sense.
Okay, last one. Another thing I've been hearing a lot on the group text is the Wild overachieved. You know, you think of all these goalie pulled games, that we won early on. This is a nice, likable regular season team. Insert Minnesota Twins every single season. But they're not built for the playoffs. We're outclassed. So enjoy it. It's cute. It's fun. Warm your feet by the fire. But once we get into the second season, the dream is over. That's a narrative that's out there. What do you say to that? Playoff hockey versus regular season hockey, I guess, would be the point there.
Okay, I will say that's kind of ironic because I believe that before all of this, people would say that this team is probably more built for playoff hockey. Like they don't have the high flyers that play during the regular season and score 100 points, and then they go into the playoffs and all of a sudden get beat in the first round by
copyright Edmonton.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So they are more of a playoff team. I think people would have said that in the past, and their structure's there. They've gotten a little loose in their structure and stuff like this. But let's just go through matchups in the West real quick. Who are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of Calgary. I'm fine with Colorado. I haven't seen Nashville enough, but I think I'm scared of them too because I think they're closer to Calgary. St. Louis, I think we can beat, but I think they're like the older version of Calgary. But I think we have enough skill and speed to get by them in a 7-game series. Who else is in there? Vegas. You might have. I don't know about the goalie in Vegas. Maybe that one's fine. And then there's another team I'm missing. Who am I missing?
It'd be Dallas, maybe, or LA.
Ooh,
Anaheim.
No, Anaheim's fine.
It's Edmonton.
Oh, easy. I'd love that. I'd love to play Edmonton all 4 rounds.
My point here is there's one team that you're afraid to play in the playoffs. And the argument I was making earlier in that, like, you don't have to at the deadline go out and change your entire club. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that there are pieces that they can add. And that's another point that's bizarre, is how much things change in a week. Like you go from, hey, they just need to relax, so you don't want to mess up the chemistry, to where it's like,
yeah, we got to trade everyone.
But I'm guilty of that, you know. But you look at it, Colorado, the Wild can beat them. Vegas, it took a team that was older and slower last year 7 games for Vegas to beat. This team is better than last year's team.
Yeah.
And has Vegas gotten a lot better?
That goalie has problems too.
The goalie has problems. I think that Vegas has tried to chase it, and they've cost themselves. They had here comes that big word, depth, when they originally came in and they went on their run and they had 4 good lines. Now it's a 1-2 line team. They're turning into Edmonton, so to speak. They don't have the goaltender. They got 2 guys. They're going to try to outscore you, and I think Vegas can be beat in the playoffs. Absolutely. Colorado, the Wild match up well against. Now, Colorado's a little bit bigger. That's a team where I think you look at it and you say, okay, what do we have to get to beat those guys? And maybe there is a bigger D-man, or I even think maybe one more bigger forward, something like that. But if the 4th line can get going again, I don't think it's that big a concern. But there's not many teams in the West that you're afraid of in the playoffs. So to throw the towel in and say, when the second season starts, this team's going to get rinsed, there's one team that I think has outplayed them, and it's Calgary.
Okay. I think you did good, Dr. Carter. I feel better. The undersized D, we'll still work through that one a little bit, but I hear you.
So this is where
Billy Guerin is the X factor, though. The thing that makes me feel the best as a Wild fan, and all of you guys out there listening, Billy watches the game exactly like we do. He's watching that Calgary game going, fuck. I'm not going to be bullied, and again, I hope he doesn't over course correct, like you said, and chase one opponent. But like, I think anything that would give me anxiety, any voice in the head of the Wild fan, I think he hears that stuff and knows that stuff. He was that type of player. He played hard. He was a skill guy, but he was a tough guy. And I just feel good. I feel like if we need something, he'll address it, and if we don't, he will keep what we have. I do feel really good with him with his hand on the wheel.
It seems there's full confidence in him and knowing what the team needs and what it takes to win playoff hockey.
Yep.
It's just a matter of whether he's willing to pay the price right now. It seems like he values his draft picks and his prospects, and he understands the future and the long-term plan. He's not going to leverage it to chase something right now. But I think you're absolutely right that he knows what it takes, and he knows what he's missing or what he needs. Good guy to have in that spot. But I'm going to go ahead again and talk about the physicality of that Calgary game, and why, to me, it seems like the confidence of the Wild is fractured, and why I don't think Bill Guerin's going to overreact. The Wild went out and hit. I think they put up more hits last night than they've had any other game.
They were running around. Yeah, it was fun to see.
They were running around. They were trying. But a team that gets a coach's message and then does literally exactly what the coach says, but can't string anything else together, illustrates a team that's a little bit mentally beat up. Like, okay, our pre-scout was be more physical. So they just go out and run everything. And that's kind of what the Wild did last night. They ran, but they ran around and they hit, but it wasn't effective because they didn't gain possession of the puck, and then that didn't result in zone time, and that didn't result in scoring chances, which is why you want to be physical.
So you're saying a sign that their confidence is down is they just did what they were told.
Yes.
And there wasn't anything else brought to the party.
Right. They were just puppets. Okay, my job here tonight is to be physical.
Coach said hit.
Yes.
We're underwater right now. Hit.
Yeah, we're confident guys, figure out ways to play a physical style, but also win games. It was just they took the message quite literally.
Yep.
Go hit. And you can tell they're working through it, but I think you can tell that they're not throwing in the towel. They're trying, And I don't know what that spark is going to be, but they need a spark to get that it factor back. You know, that response where, okay, we're still in this. You know, I saw for the first time last night too, heads get thrown back after a goal goes in the net. So Calgary bounces back and scores 20 seconds later.
Brutal.
That's something the Wild usually do, right? And the script was flipped right on top of them, and they threw the heads back. And it was like, oh, well, that's not a good sign. It's not something this club does.
So you're saying you guys were like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they're fighting for it. And then, boom, wind out of their sail. Son of a...
Damn it.
Yeah.
Here, I know we're not an X's and O's podcast, but we're working through some stuff today. What was going on with our zone entries on the power play? Like, we were doing the ladder play. Then we had some where we were trying to have a guy skate in. It was so hard to watch. Like, what's our plan to get into the zone and set up on a power play?
I think Markstrom was in their kitchen.
God, was he handling the puck? What a pain in the ass.
So they were able to stand up at the blue line, force you to dump.
Yep.
And then if you put it in the trapezoid,
He'd just sling it.
yeah, and they break it out. So, and I think the other issue is personnel. So, and I'm not throwing shade on Gaudreau, but this happened a couple times where he's coming in, puck's on his backhand. He's got to kick it out on his backhand or make a play to the middle on his forehand. There's no play to the middle on his forehand. So it's a bump out on the backhand, and Calgary is able to just take that away. They get a stick on it, something, they break it up. And as soon as that doesn't execute, it's getting cleared like 99% of the time. So the Flames did a great job holding that blue line. And again, it's because the Wild couldn't dump. I thought they probably should have tried the hard rim. Just get across the red hard rim, then bump it back around. That way it keeps Markstrom in the net and you see if you can't outnumber them. But they were trying different things. I think you saw it, but it all resulted in the same, which was Calgary standing up at the blue line, Wild unable to get through it. Calgary had great sticks too, where the Wild had to throw like a baby sauce pass over something and they'd get just a piece of it. And they broke up the power play. But again, another example, the Wild power play had been good. They're just not executing right now.
I love, once it's set up, I love it.
Yeah.
You got Boldy. I mean, Kirill put a pass from behind the net through an area that was about this big. I don't even know how he did it. And between Zuccarello and that first unit is awesome, but it was just getting set up. Do you have something?
Hey, I've got an announcement for us. Though.
Okay.
There's a new sponsor alert.
Tell me more.
You'd like to know a little bit more? Or do you have a new vehicle or maybe are you building a new house?
I am.
So you might have some insurance needs.
Yeah, tell me more.
Well, I have a guy for you, Andy Hedlund, former Maverick. He's a hockey player.
Okay.
Yeah. Minnesota State Maverick, played professionally in Germany. He's also a hockey dad, hockey coach.
Okay.
Yeah. Maple Grove High School boys getting ready for the section state tournament. So he's a hockey guy, thehockeyagent.com. So whether you're out looking for insurance for your new car, you've got a new pad, you want to get some rates, give Andy Hedlund a call, 763-537-4949 for all your insurance need, property, all of that stuff. You need a nice umbrella policy probably. He can help you out with that.
So he's an insurance guy, but his website is hockeyagent.com.
Thehockeyagent.com.
The Hockey
State
Agent.
Farm. Yeah, he's a State Farm agent, thehockeyagent.com.
And you would say he protects you how?
Well,
what's his coverage like?
Well, I'd say he's got you covered kind of like Zuccarello has. He'll take care of you like Zuccarello takes care of Kaprizov. There's no doubt about it.
He'll baby bird you.
Thehockeyagent.com, 763-537-4949. That's Andy Hedlund.
All right. Okay, so schedule coming up. We're going to be at home for basically the whole month of March, with the exception of 2 trips I'm calling the dumpster dives. We're going to Buffalo and Philly, dumpster diving back-to-back this week. And then we're going to go to Detroit and Columbus, dumpster diving next week. So teams out of the playoffs, points we need to get. Let's get well. Let's stand up straight. And let's find that mojo, that it that you were talking about. How do you feel when you look ahead at the schedule? These couple, I think even on the road, you can kind of come together as a team a little bit, but I love these little dumpster dive sequences. I'm sure that's a terrible thing to say. We'll probably get our ass kicked because I said that, but dumpster dives.
Yeah, it's certainly a chance. And Evison had touched on this too, that he didn't like the game against Calgary in Calgary because the Wild didn't compete to the level. And he said that it's the first time probably in his 119 games behind the Wild bench where they just didn't show up. I don't think that was the case last night, but I think they're going to show up there. And he had wished that it wasn't going to be Calgary, the same opponent. I think because he understood like the message he was trying to give the guys was not so much go out and hit everything. It was like, just go out and compete, play hard, win these battles. Mm-hmm. And they took it quite literally to go out and hit everything. So again, I think Calgary was in their kitchen in that sense. Now, if you can get that same message to them and they go play Philadelphia and Buffalo, I mean, you look at their rosters, or I should say their records, and they need to make hay, right? Like they need to find it, and this is where you find it, the bottom of that dumpster.
Dumpster dive.
You got a dumpster dives every once in a while. Got to get a little dirty, but they should have the goal set on 4 points here, no question about it. And it actually shouldn't be a goal; it should be a standard. You should be upset if you don't take 4 out of this trip for sure.
I've been, just for anyone that's doubting that we're trying to break the mold, I almost every game bet Kirill to get 3 points, $25 on my app. That's not a great bet. It hasn't been working, but maybe against Buffalo and Philly here, I'm going to stay on it, because if you hit it, it's like 5-6 to 1. So I only need to hit it once out of every 4 times or so. So I'm expecting the hard work, the leadership that 97 has shown. He's going to pop here. Big multi-point night against Philly or Buffalo.
Yeah, Philly's actually, I'm more nervous about Buffalo than I am about Philly. Philly's got some guys that are probably better on paper and maybe a little bit more experienced. They're a team coached by Mike Yeo right now. John Torchetti, I think, is one of the assistant coaches. Schultz, who Jared Spurgeon is going to pass when he plays that game as the most games played by a defenseman in a Wild sweater. Schultz is on the Philly bench. So there's going to be some ties there. But
you think Buffalo's more pesky? Is that why you're scared?
Yeah, it's the second of back-to-back. I think they just have a little bit more energy. They're a little bit younger, something to prove. You know, guys playing for jobs. I think everybody on Philly right now is pretty comfortable. You know, they've got long-term deals and they've got pedigree behind them, and it's just been a bad season for them. But yeah, Buffalo, I think, is the wild card. They're just kind of young, play with a little bit more speed and easy to look over. But
and then you got Mr. Suter coming in on Sunday. No one would love to step on us more. This is the time that the Wild need to just, enough is enough. Stand up, beat the teams you're supposed to beat here on this 2-game set. Smoke Dallas on Sunday. And just be like it's like the Aaron Rodgers, relax.
Right.
Just relax. Because I mean, it's time. It's time to just say enough is enough with this. Yeah, it's the dog days. We had a little swoon, whatever. Let's get back on track and get this thing going, get the juice going. Character and characters.
Yeah, I think they absolutely need it in that room. I think you saw with the celebration from Foligno on his goal too, like you could feel the pressure mounting for him. He had 0 points in his last 8 games. Can we just take a second to talk about him and what do you think? And
well, I already told you what I think it is, and I think I was right.
What? Let's hear it.
The dude is a good guy.
Yeah.
He is Superman. He's like he's a guy who manages himself with virtue. Mm-hmm. I remember when he did the Superman punch at the start of the year. I know he didn't want that image used anywhere. He didn't want people promoting him in that way. He didn't want kids seeing that. He's like this black and white good guy. And when he did that thing that was a little bit out of character, kneeing the guy and not stopping the fight when you're supposed to stop the fight, I think it messed him up. Like it made him wonder who he was. It shook him more than a hockey play would.
I think you're right. And I think when you look at what a hockey player likes and when they're comfortable, it's not being in the limelight. And I think a lot of times people say hockey players are some of the coolest athletes because they're the most down to earth. They don't like it to be about them. And that's exactly what happened is Marcus doesn't want it to be about him. No. And all of a sudden the story for a couple of days is about him. And about him in probably not the brightest of lights, right? Like he didn't love that situation that he was in, and he didn't maybe like his actions. He got suspended, and I think you're absolutely spot on that it hit him somewhere down deep where it's affected him, his confidence, and all of a sudden he hasn't come out and he hasn't been the same player since. You know, you haven't seen him just like confident physically in it. You started to see stretches a little bit last night where he's playing with the puck and
skating up to the goalie and standing there.
Yeah, and it's I think it's starting to come back, but I think there's no question about it. He lost it for a bit there, and that play is because of it.
He did do the thing when Kirill sauced him that backhand. He did exactly what I would do. It's like we're like if somebody throws you, I'm a lineman. If someone throws me a football, I have to fall to the ground to catch it. You know, and he was like all of a sudden like diving to make sure he got it in. It was just great.
That was hilarious. No reason to dive whatsoever. Just making sure that he put all his weight behind it.
Just making sure.
That's a perfect illustration though of a guy gripping the stick a little too tight and feeling the pressure.
I was like, why is he on the ground? And but I relate to it because it's like that feeling of when you catch a football, you have to go onto the ground to make sure it's touching every part of your body, you know, to make sure you catch it. But I did think that he showed some signs of getting the sunlight on him again. I really liked him skating up to Markstrom. He was buzzing around. He wasn't like full Foligno, but you know, he's a good dude, man. And I think that action was out of his character, and it just took him a minute to reset.
So let's analyze your podcast so far. Do you wish you had the chew?
Well, I don't like to do podcasts like this. We're technical, but this has been hard. We've really had an easy road so far. They've been really good and really fun. And, I'm just kind of working through some of this stuff. You know, it hits close to home. I had a dude jump off the bandwagon. Like
somebody exited the group text.
Just didn't even ask us to slow down. Just jumped off the rooftop carrier and rolled. And his text was, "The dream dies tonight." It was like 10 minutes into the Calgary first game. He was just gone. Like, don't slow down the car. I'm good. I'm just going to unbuckle and just roll. But yeah, it's you're starting to see the worst of Minnesota fans. The like, oh, well, it was good while it lasted. You know, all puppies grow up and aren't as cute eventually. I mean, it's like basically this whole overachieving regular season team, you know.
You think he got hurt when he jumped off the bandwagon?
Well, I think he was kind of, he's given me content. I think he's one of these guys that pokes it a little bit just to kind of see, but he was asking the questions. And then but to the credit of breaking the mold, there were a handful of people in the group text being like, dude, really? Like, you're done? Like, we've been on this journey together and we get our first hint of adversity and you just ran out of the foxhole. Like, so I would say he was catching some resistance from the other Wild fans saying like, come on now.
Well, let's say he did get hurt when he jumped off that bandwagon. Who should he call? Like, we care about this individual and we want him to be okay in the end. It's a tough journey sometimes, but who should he call had he been hurt?
Well, I think I mean, we can't get in contact with Rat right now. We don't know what threat level we're at. I think DEFCON 1 is the worst. So like, I don't know where Rat's at. He's been our spirit animal. You helped me on the couch today. I would probably have him reach out to you.
I was thinking physically hurt, or maybe if he got arrested on his.
Well, then I would have him call Wachtler Law, WACHTLER law.com. Whether you're hurt, injured, arrested, 25 years experience, fiercely independent, afraid of no one. He's going to take real good care of you. Man, I'm sorry. I missed that. Tape to tape. I just blew up on my stick.
But I do want to talk about what you were talking about with that individual, because it is crazy. You know, the passive aggressiveness of Minnesotans.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Just sit there and wait for the moment. Everybody, it's amazing how everybody was all over Anson Carter just 2 weeks ago. T-shirts are being made about depth.
Yep.
And now everybody they've flipped the meme around and everybody's like, wow, depth. Anson Carter's right. Right. And it's unbelievable.
I'm walking out of the rink last night and my wife just says, I know who we need to trade. And I'm like, oh, this will be good. We're not even at the truck park. We're not even to Tom Reed's. We should trade Dumba, And I go, honey, he didn't play tonight. He wasn't in the game. Well, I know, but he's small. And we need a guy like 44. We need a big, huge guy. He's too small. And he's a good player, so we can probably get stuff for him. Okay, but it's there's I heard this great example from youth hockey. So here's Minnesota in a nutshell, and this is what we do with the Wild. Your kid doesn't make the AA team. He makes the single A team. And you're furious because he's a AA player. He should have made the AA. He got screwed to play the A, okay? Now, the whole season, when that kid plays and they play a town that doesn't have a AA team and they get pounded.
Yeah.
Hey, they don't even have a AA team. Now, keep in mind, your son should be on the AA.
Right.
All of you should.
Right.
Your whole team should.
Yeah.
But
when you play a team that doesn't have the AAs.
Geez, I mean, what were we supposed to do? They don't have. This is like the Wild in a nutshell. The very thing that we hate or love becomes the thing we hate the second the heat is turned up. And I think, honest to God, the thing that is keeping me feeling comfortable is Billy G and his brick mason hands. And this guy plays hard. He understands the playoffs. I don't know. And I don't know what he's thinking, to your point. I don't know if this is the year or he's thinking about a 3-year span or whatever. But I know that nothing I said today isn't a voice that he's heard in his head.
Right. And
that makes me feel good because I think in the past there was a little bit of the Wild were kind of in an echo chamber a little bit, 317 Washington. It was kind of like this, penny loafer society, and they didn't really know. But I think they've let us in. We've fallen in love with them, and I don't think he wants to betray the trust that we've given those guys.
No, I think you're spot on. We've run a little long. I've got one more kind of lighthearted topic I want to talk about. Did you see Duhaime end up in Calgary's bench?
Great work by Tkachuk. That guy is I love him so much. He's such a dirtbag. So he kind of hurt him. So that doorway sucks. There's nothing scarier than having the door open. Like, when you're on the bench in beer league and there's the guy that doesn't close the door fast. And all I can think of is this is like a Cambodian landmine. Like, do not have that door open. Close the damn door.
The Calgary guys were standing behind, just like, it's almost like they purposely were leaving the door open to see if somebody.
And they had them. It was almost like their helmets were connected. Like the way it played out, it was like they were both holding onto each other's sticks. But clearly, Tkachuk got the better end of it because he kind of dropped him into the threshold, which is not a pleasant place to land, especially when it's the opposing team's bench. And then I saw him skate back to the bench just miserable like that. I mean, that's the thing about Tkachuk is he's just inventing reasons for you to hate him on a regular basis.
But Duhaime, what's funny about it to me is it seems like time and time again it's becoming a repeatable event where Duhaime finds himself in just weird situations.
Like he's Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
Like he just gets blasted all the time.
Yeah, he's trying, but now he's in Calgary's bench. He scores a goal facing the wrong direction. He tries to fight somebody, throws his gloves, and it's before the puck's dropped, so he has to go to the penalty box. Like the stories, I don't know. He
steps on rakes.
Yeah, he's just trying. He is trying, but he is just striking out.
Well, and it was so well done too, because they went so slowly to the open door, and then it was like he gently pushed him doim, and you couldn't tell what was happening, but you knew it wasn't good. And then you see Duhaime skating back to the bench.
Well, he took his time in the bench too, because it's almost like he dawned on him like this sucks. This looks really bad. I'm not going to pretend like it didn't happen. I'm just going to hang here for a minute.
How were they stuck together? Were they both holding on to each other's stick?
I think they kind of like just bumped each other going across, and then it slowly turned into a wrestling match.
And Tkachuk just kind of beat him a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Oh, what a beauty that guy is. How about when he scored and he did this? He just... and then he just kind of was like never mind, turned to his team and pointed at the guy that passed to him. But that Bufflin did that in the heyday when he was a forward.
Yeah.
He was just in the opposing rink. So good.
All right. Well, it was a challenge for us today.
10 toes up.
It's tough to keep the faith 10 toes up. Yeah, on the couch. I don't think it's as bad as it seems.
I'm on foot. In Billy G, we trust. Let's go dumpster diving. There's got to be some. Stay away from the seafood, but there's probably a half-eaten sandwich in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's get after Flyers and Sabres and get home to Dallas and our old franchise. Let's knock them down too.
Everything will be okay. We're here
till it's here.